Hello everyone, welcome back to Bezique Media. Imagine you are the undisputed champion of a game. No one dares challenge you because they know they will lose. But then one day you decide to pick up a fight, not just with the number 2 player, but with everyone. You bully, you bluff, you demand they play by your rules. But then you realize something terrifying. The cards you thought you held, you don't. The dominance you assumed was yours, it's gone. And worst of all, everyone else now sees it too. This is not a metaphor. This is exactly what's happening right now in the US-China trade war. And the consequences could reshape the global economy forever. In 2001, the US made a historic gamble, invite China into the World Trade Organization. The logic? Economic integration would force political reform, making China more democratic. Instead, the opposite happened. US imports from China exploded. From $100 billion in 2000 to $500 billion today. Manufacturing hollowed out. 2.4 million US jobs vanished. The China shock. The US outsourced critical supply chains from microchip to pharmaceuticals. China didn't just join the global economy. It rewrote the rules in its favor. In 2018, Trump fired the first shot. Tariffs on $300 billion of Chinese goods. China retaliated, targeting the US farmers. A warning sign ignored. Now in 2025, the stakes are higher. 145% US tariffs on China. 125% China tariffs on the US. Result, trade between the two could drop 80%. It's based on the World Trade Organization estimation. But here is the twist. China doesn't need the US as much the US needs China. China exports to the US fell from 19.8% of the total exports in 2018 to 12.8% in 2023. But China's global export rose, diversifying to Europe, Africa and Asia. The US is fighting a war China spent 7 years preparing for. China does not just make cheap toys. It controls the future. 80% of rare earth metals, that's critical for tech, EV and weapons. 70% of global solar panel productions. Dominance in batteries, 5G and AI infrastructure. It can't not without. 5 to 10 years to rebuild factories. Sky-high consumer prices, especially iPhone could triple in cost. Total supply chain chaos. Even if the US wants to decouple, it can't. Not without. 5 to 10 years to rebuild factories, sky-high consumer prices, especially iPhones could triple in cost. Total supply chain chaos. The US thought its allies would stand firm. Instead, Japan and South Korea now in active talks with China for a new trade bloc. Canada and EU exploring deals to bypass US tariffs. Africa, China is now its #1 trading partner. The world is not waiting for the US to figure this out. It's moving on. Let's be clear. China's strength, massive domestic demands, state-backed industries with no profit motive and no fear of losses, control over critical supply chains. US weakness, fragile outsourced manufacturing, consumer-facing brutal inflations with high tariff prices, zero leverage in key industries. The US picked the fight it can't win, and in doing so, exposed its decline. What happened next? There is 2 scenarios. Option 1, de-escalation. The US backs down like it just did with electronic tariffs. Both sides negotiate, but China holds all the cards. Option 2, full decoupling. A bifurcated global economy, US in West versus China in East. Long-term US consumer pain, shortages, inflation, stagnation. Risk of military conflict over Taiwan or tech dominance. One path leads to uneasy peace, the other to chaos. A superpower's last stand, history shows empires fall not from external attacks, but internal miscalculations. The US chose this trade war, China prepared for it. Now the world watches as the old order crumbles and a new one rises. Question is, will the US adapt, or will this be the moment future historians point to as the beginning of the end? Drop your thoughts below, and if you want more deep dives on the global power shifts, smash that subscribe button. See you in the next one.